Hi friends, Kansi here from atop Serenity Hill. I'm also the host of the membership, The Creative Playground. You can find information about that below. And today, I'm going to show you how to make this junk journal. So for some of you who have been around me a while, a journal this large is probably throwing you because I tend to work in itty-bitty journals. I love small journals, simple supplies, short amounts of time. I think it is really good to have a journal that gives you satisfaction in the finishing sometimes, as opposed to a journal this large and it feels like it's just never ending. But there is a purpose to this delightful junk journal, and that is I wanted to create a journal that was for junk journal ideas. So ideas that I saw here on YouTube or on Pinterest, or that I've come up with myself, ways to add pockets and tabs and tags and ruffled edges and all those fun fold out pages. And I just wanted one place to put all those ideas, and I thought it might be fun to build the master. Let's go with that. It is a master, the master junk journal. And so I'm going to show you how I made this delightful thing. It's tab binding and it's sewing. So I sewed signatures and then tab binded the signatures together. So let's get started on how I made this. And then don't forget to subscribe if you're new here, and you can follow along in your own version of this if you want to collect a bunch of ideas. If this is fun and you enjoyed this process, don't forget to give it a thumbs up sometime during this video. And if you have questions after I finish the tutorial, don't forget to leave a comment below. I'd be happy to help you out with your own version of the Master Junk Journal Big Book of Ideas. All right, let's jump in, shall we? All right, so let's dive into how I made the junk journal. My junk journal is 6 signatures, which I have sewn on my sewing machine. And I wanted to run through I haven't sewn this one yet, so you can see that it's loose. But I wanted to show you what the signatures look like. There are 2 different kinds of signatures. Each one had 6 different items in it. And I'll run through 2 of them so that you see. But every signature started with a coffee-dyed piece of printer paper. Then inside this one we had a magazine page. I loved just finding a magazine page that was super colorful, so it gave me a lot to start with. Some kind of scrap printer paper that I tried something on. This one has an envelope that was only coffee-dyed on one side. I don't know. It's sitting around and now I'm going to use it. This is a leftover piece from roll-offs from jelly printing. And then this had some scraped on paint on a piece of deli paper. So definitely like just leftover stuff hanging out in my studio. And I will run a straight stitch through this and have this as a sewn signature. So here's another one. And the other thing that I pulled a lot of was, again, printed paper, like some kind of printable that I printed that either I didn't use or it printed wrong. This one, the ink was wrong. Ink was running out in my printer. Then I had some book paper, some coffee-dyed lined paper, more like under paper for jelly printing. And then this one had a coffee-dyed coffee filter. I know, very meta there, inside of it. And this was just sewn straight down the center, okay? And the other thing that's in there, definitely some plain envelopes, some watercolor paper. A friend gave me a bunch of this. It's kind of like watercolor paper, but it absorbs watercolor. It's meant for kid projects, and I have it in lots of different shapes, so I figured that was kind of fun to throw in there. And you can see magazines and the offsets and, an envelope just for fun. Okay, so I'm going to sew the last signature together, and then I will have 6 signatures that I am going to then tab bind in together. All right, and then I have my cover, which you saw my cover. It is this corrugated, I think it was packing material because it came on a strip. What I had was a strip. I don't know where I got it. I've had it for a bazillion years. So I cut 2 pieces with pinking shears, and so the straight edge will be the the side for, you know, that I'm going to tab bind on, and then the pinking shear edges just give it some fun. And I decided to put the corrugated part on the inside because eventually I will decorate the outside. That will be another video in this series. And then the final thing to put it all together was I had some canvas. I'm going to call it canvas paper. It's actually canvas. It comes on a pad by Fredericks, and I decided to use that as my tab binding because it was a bit strong, and I sprayed it with coffee because I feel like coffee and brown seems to be my aesthetic for this. And on one side, the canvas made it shiny. It's hard to see on camera, and a little bit sticky with the coffee. And then on the back, it didn't have gesso on it, obviously, so it absorbed in. So I have the option of using it that way or that way, whichever I want. So let me sew my signature, and then I'm going to cut up my tab pieces into little 2-inch pieces, and I will show you how to bind this all together. Okay, so I've cut all my tabs. They're 2-ish. I'm going to just say that they're 2-ish because some of them are shorter or longer than the other. If you've been around me enough, you know that measuring is not that important. This is not that important that it be exact. This is a junk journal. It is made up of junk and cardboard. So if measuring is important to you, then watch the whole video first before you cut anything, and then you can measure it exactly how you need it to go. All right. So I have 18 of them, and you'll see why I need 18. And I have everything in order of where I want it to go. And this is how I'm gonna use my art glitter glue. Now you could use tape. I wouldn't use washi tape. It's not strong enough, but you could use maybe masking tape if you wanted, or fabric tape. Any of those things you can try. Do your own research. Google it, go here on YouTube and look up tab binding and see what you have. Don't go buy something if you don't need to, is what I'm getting at. Okay, so my tabs are all going to go on this left side because that's where the binding is. So I'm flipping my, you can see my straight edge is my binding edge. My pinking shear edge is the outer side. So if you can remember that, that would be helpful. So I'm flipping it upside down, and I am going to glue these. I'm going to glue 3 of these on that side. Okay, so I don't want to glue it exactly in the middle because I have this to wrap it around the cardboard, which has got depth, and I have the signature to wrap it around, which has some depth. So I'm going to, I know I told you I wasn't going to measure, but I'll give you a general gist. So this is 2 inches, and so I'm probably going to give it like 1 3/4. That's how much I'm going to glue down. All right. And again, I'm winging this, y'all. All right, so I've got 1 there. Let's see if that's 3/4. Whoops, keep turning this the wrong way. It's almost 3/4. Let's push it a little bit more. Okay, 1 there. You know, if I need to do this, I can always show myself where glue needs to go. Okay, 1 at the bottom, about the same distance. You can see I'm eyeballing it. And then I need my 1 in the middle. Okay, so I need glue there. And that way you can eyeball where your center tab is. Okay. All right, so then that goes, let's move it over here so that you can see better. So that's what I'm doing with my ruler. I can even leave it here and see, it might help you. Okay, so I've got that. So I'm going to flip that over. Okay, now I need to put 2 tabs in between. Okay, Let's slide. We're going to do it this way because I want to be able to see. I'm going to glue a tab here. Nope, I'm gluing on the shiny side. Sorry, just wanted to double check myself. So in between, on the next one, I'm going to glue so that you can see the tabs and they're in between, okay? So if I'm still giving myself that 3/4, okay, and I have to say doing this on camera is not that easy. All right, there we go. So I could see, and you want to make sure you're about equal distant between your where you want to line them up, okay? So I'll glue here. That's about equal. And again, doesn't have to be perfect, just has to be there, okay? All right, so then I'm going to flip this over. We line up the edges, and I'm trying to get it so that it's equal on the top and the bottom as well. And now we're going to glue this, the ones from the bottom come up over, okay? And you do want to, I'm not doing it so tight. I'm giving it just a little bit of space. So that's what I was saying with the 3/4 inch, just giving it a little bit of breathing room. So that I can, if the book expands, I have the ability to play with that. And you also saw I also didn't put glue right where this is going to be, right where it would lie against the binding. All right, so let's fold that up. Okay. So now when it opens, okay, and I also have the ability to open the signatures. All right, so I've got that. Now, oops, those need to stick out. Okay, so now I move on to the next signature. And I need 3, so back to 3, lining them up. And now I'm going to glue these in place so that they match the first set, okay? Okay, now I've got that one. I'm going to flip this over. Line up the signatures on the edges here. You don't worry about this side. That side can be messy. You want the signatures to line up here. And then you're going to go to the 2 that's below. It's attached to this one. And glue that up. Okay, so now tab, journal, 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 tab, and then we have our next one. All right, and then we move on and we continue to do that until you reach the last signature, okay? Okay, so we've got the last binding on the very last one. We're going to flip it over, line this up, and attach this one on. Okay, and then we don't have to, for the final, the back, we don't put any bindings on it. We just need to attach it with the final 3 that we did. So it's just important that I line it up correctly. So this, the very last one, you don't have any more, you're just using what's left on the final signature to attach the back page, the back cover, I should say. Now, if you're using, I'm using art glitter glue for this, and because it dries quickly, okay? So that is something to bear in mind. If you're just using white, like Aleene's Tacky glue, and it doesn't dry, and this isn't sticky, like you're not using some kind of tape that's instant adhesion and it needs a little bit of dry time, then you might have to take your time with this. You might have to use binder clips, all those, you know, things that happen with slower drying glue, and test it out. I mean, make a prototype. It doesn't have to be the final one. Put a couple pieces of cardboard together with some tape and just see what happens. Okay, so you can see, here's my binding. Not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. They're not equal. I'm okay with that. If you know me, you know I'm like, y'all, it's a junk journal. But, yeah, I want to make sure I had it on the cover. But look how fun. Okay, I can do so much with this now that I have this blank junk journal to put my ideas into. And I love the idea of the tab binding also helps. It lies flat. The other thing that lies flat is sewing the signatures. Okay, you can tab. I could have tab bound. Ooh, that's big. Every page in here, but no, I don't have that. I wanted signatures. Okay, individual signatures that then had a fun way of adding them in. So I've done 2 different kinds of binding. One was to sew a signature in, okay? And then I use the tab binding to add the signatures into the actual book, okay? But everything still lies nice and flat, which is just delightful. I love the flat. Okay, and it has space to grow. Okay, even the signatures themselves have a little bit of space to grow because I left some room in between there. All right, so I cannot wait to see what I do to fill this up and use it as an idea. My, you know, I've seen this name on YouTube here before, but like the big book of ideas, junk journal ideas. So we're going to see. This is probably the biggest journal I've made. I'm not a big one for making, that's funny. I'm not a big one for making big journals. I like small journals because they take smaller amounts of time, short amounts of time to fill, and they feel satisfying to finish a journal. But I wanted a journal that I could hold all the ideas that I run across or that I come up with myself in one place so that I could share them here with you. All right. So I hope this gives you an idea. Don't forget, you could do the same idea with 3 signatures. It doesn't have to be 6 signatures. You could make the signatures themselves less pages. Try out tab binding and see what you like. Or if you want to make a big book of ideas to follow along with me and you can add them into your own, that would be awesome too. Let me know below what you think of this little junk journal. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe so that you can follow along with this journey and all the other creative projects I do here on YouTube. And as always, if this was helpful to you, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. It always helps the channel find new people. All right. Thank you so much for joining me today, y'all. And I can't wait to see what we do. See you soon.